Hello, friends, and welcome to my review of the stock market for the day. Well, a very interesting session today. So, if you saw, it was only the large cap index which was marginally positive today. The mid, small, and the micro caps were all negative. But this was just the end of day result. Actually, the markets went through a very big jump in the middle and then fell off. So, a very volatile day in that sense because halfway through the day, it was looking like a good day. And what was the reason to have a good first half? Well, there was a risk on in the world because of the fact that the Micron, the company I spoke about yesterday, reported very good results ahead of its expectations, including the guidance. So, as a result, there was a huge risk on rally, and Korea and Japan both jumped 5% today. Taiwan was flattish, but this was probably gave a big boost to the start of the day. But halfway through, it petered out, and the reasons for that, well, they are very hard to understand it because when there's a risk on feeling, I thought India should have got its benefit. And if you look at the FII flows, yes, they turned positive. Yesterday they were 1800 crores negative. Today they were like 350, 400 crores positive. So, but this is not a very big positive move, right? So it looks like when you analyze this situation, we have to now take comfort from the fact that when there was a risk of, especially against the semiconductor AI story over the last few days, India didn't fall as much. So, or there was a mild positive. So, I think that's the way the India story is playing out, is that you don't fall very much when there is a risk off at the because of the AI craze, but we don't rise very much also when the risk comes back on because we are a non-AI country in their perception, right? And even IT, which should have some spillover because AI, though it's anti-IT in terms of the general business, IT is a consumer of AI services, so one would have assumed that some spillover. No, IT was negative today, about 80 basis points. So, but on the global geopolitical macro, things had eased a lot because Brent crude went below 73 now to settle around 72 point something. And that's because the Hormuz Strait is opened, vehicles are now transiting, and there is progress on the peace talks. So this is good news for India. So, but as we know that this oil price drop has been happening over the past few days, and still FIs have not been showing great interest. And today also, just a 400 crore positive is neither here nor there. So clearly, just an improvement in the oil price is not sufficient. It is necessary, of course, but it's not sufficient for FI interest to come in. But despite that, the large cap index ended up marginally positive, though it corrected from the midday highs. And that's because DII buying stepped up to almost 6,000 crores today, 5,500 and odd crores. So that was, however, clearly concentrated in the large cap space. So that's the but if you look at the sectoral indices which went up, it was only auto which was a big outperformer, followed by consumption and FMCG. And the banks, both the private banks and the public sector, were pretty flat. So clearly there's been a lot of churn during the day in terms of both the FIS selling something, DIS buying something. But overall, then if you look at the fact that the mid cap, small cap, and the micro cap all ended up negative about, if I look at the numbers, right, they were negative about 50 basis points for mid cap, 47 basis points for small cap, and 62 basis points for micro cap. So now you marry this with the advanced decline ratio, which was again heavily in favor of declines, almost 1:2. 1,000 stocks were up, but almost 2,000 stocks were down. So clearly then again the needy. Now what is a needy? We know what is FII, we know what is DII. The needy is the non-institutional domestic investors. That's the frame I've coined because it includes retail, it includes HNI, it includes PMS participants, it includes proprietary book, and everything not classified as an institution. They are the ones who have panicked even when the risk off happened due to the blowout on the tech side, right, over the last few days. But they continued even today to be profit bookers. I'm not saying they will panic because there's no earthly reason to panic for India. With oil prices coming down, it's a clear tailwind for India. But still, this needy segment is continuing to book profits. And that's why if you see the smaller cap indices are negative and the advanced decline is also negative. And so the sectors which got punished there, well, metals got punished, oil and gas, obviously, because of the drop in price of oil, and realty, and all of these also didn't do very, very well today. So clearly, somewhere this non-institutional domestic participants seem to be wanting to book profits, and that's what's driving this whole market performance. And I think in the second half of the day, especially after the market rose in the first half, right, that sell-off was probably driven by the needies coming and booking profits. So in that sense, otherwise, apart from the oil price, the global geopolitical macro, where there was nothing special. The dollar index continued to be at about 101.6. There was a mild easing in the US Treasury bill of about 4-5 basis points to 4.42, and there was a easing in the Indian bond yields also to about 6.80 from 6.85, and the rupee also strengthened by about 25-27 basis points. So everything was conducive. So there's no particular reason that today we should have had a negative broader market. And like I said, I can't think of any reason other than profit booking. So in that sense, now we're heading into a long weekend because tomorrow is a holiday for the markets. And so how the markets will develop on Monday, well, you have 3 whole days because the world is open tomorrow. So we have 3 whole days of action, both on the geopolitical front and on the stock market front to look forward to. So I shall give you an update on what my views are in terms of the coming week on Sunday night or Monday morning in my usual weekly review. Until then, have a good weekend, and I'll catch up with you on Monday morning. Thank you.